read a headline together. That's always fun. This is from the New York Times from November 5th. What's it saying? Are you immediately able to determine what happened? Who it happened to? Who did it? The New York Times headline is referring specifically to an Israeli airstrike on the small, extremely densely populated Al-Maghazi refugee camp in Gaza that killed around 50 people. But that's not what this headline, subheading, or even the opening paragraph tell us. Instead, we get strange, evasive language. An explosion? What kind of explosion? We don't know, but the Gazans claim it was an airstrike. Were people killed? Well, there were casualties. What was struck? A densely populated area. Who did it? We'll get to that later in our report. That type of language is referred to as the passive voice. But that specific New York Times headline, and many similar headlines since October 7th, in particular, go beyond the passive and into, well, a whole new innovation on the English language. Welcome to the Occupation Style Guide, where we look at how we talk about, the things we talk about, and the words we use. Here's another headline. This is from the print version of a Washington Post report. Who exactly are these, quote, 4 fragile lives? Are we talking about humans? Kittens? Found ended. What does that mean? Who ended these lives? And what exactly was done? This report was about the horrifying discovery of 4 decomposing premature babies made by a journalist upon entering the Al-Nasser hospital on November 24th, which was raided by the Israeli military, forcing staff and patients to flee. Now, compare this to the digital version of this report. Here we see blame assigned, what happened, and who it happened to, all in very clear terms. And that's the entire point of a headline. Headlines, subheadings, and opening paragraphs are meant to give you the gist of the reporting before you can delve into the details. But there's an exception, it seems, whenever it comes to discussing Israeli war crimes and violence against Palestinians. We find time and time again that headlines in particular, which aren't afterthoughts in a newsroom but carefully considered and selected, end up serving to obscure the reality of Israeli violence, whether in situations like the current Israeli assault on Gaza or in the greater context of the occupation itself. And what this language that doesn't specify who did what to whom does is that it absolves the subject Israel of its aggression. Like this headline from CNN, which referred to an Israeli soldier as a, quote, man in military fatigues, while clearly showing video evidence of him being a soldier and saying in the article itself that the attack was confirmed by the Israeli army. Passive language also makes the victims of Israeli aggression, Palestinians, either invisible when they're not mentioned or pathetic victims of unnamed violence that's just a part of their existence, like they've experienced a natural disaster versus atrocities at the hands of the Israeli military.
Increasingly, the health, the sanitary situation in Gaza, particularly in the south, is getting worse.
Another series of airstrikes rained down on Khan Yunis today. The humanitarian crisis has deteriorated so rapidly, the UN declared Gaza is reaching the point of no return.
It's also just plain bad journalism, because it defeats the purpose of reporting what's happening to who and why. And passive language serves a clear political purpose when it's deployed consistently to sanitize the violence that a powerful state is unleashing against civilian populations. And when news serves a clear political purpose on behalf of a state, what does it become then?